of my Pinto.
Hi, I'm Kendra Cook with the Pinto Bean newspaper and broadcast. This is the weekly update from November 14th, 2025. And let's take a look at what was in the news this past week. On Wednesday, November 12th, Grand County EMS responded along with Grand County Search and Rescue, the Grand County Sheriff's Office, Classical Air Medical, and the DPS Aero Bureau to a base jumper accident in the Cane Creek area. They were dispatched at 13:08, and by 15:15, a team member had reached the patient, provided advanced treatment for moderate injuries, and secured him so there was no risk to further fall. By 1600, the patient was hoisted from the cliff face to a landing zone via DPS Aero Bureau, transferred to an awaiting ambulance, and is in stable, non-life-threatening condition. They put out a huge thank you to the Grand County Search and Rescue for the technical rigging and incident management, DPS Aero Bureau for the aerial lift and hoist operations, Classic Air Medical, and all the flight and medic crew who transported the rescuers to the top for access and stood ready if air transport was needed. While yesterday's incident, that was back on the 12th, on Wednesday, was gaining a lot of public attention because it was visible from the town of Moab, these types of rescues are exactly what they're trained for and do on a very regular basis. So a big thank you to everyone who contributed to that. In other search and rescue news, Colorado Parks and Wildlife is increasing their Colorado Backcountry Search and Rescue Program, BSAR, fee. That's on wildlife licenses and boats, snowmobiles, and off-highway vehicles for their registrations. They had been $1.25, and they will be going up to $1.25 for funding support for county search and rescue teams and the local volunteers. And this has not changed since 1987, so the newly increased fee is going to be a necessary step, they said, to reflect the current customer price index, taking into account inflation as well as the increase in search and rescue incident responses, and frankly, just the number of highly challenging and risky rescues that continue to increase over the past 15 years. And out of Cortez, Colorado, the Empire Electric Association hosted their grand opening of the new facility off of Highway 491 on L.4 Road. This was past Thursday, November 13th. They noted that bills were needed to be paid at the old location until December 10th, when the new location will be fully operational. The event was very fun and hosted a lot of people who come by and enjoy the new digs. Also note that there will be increases in the electric bills for January that you'll see in the February bill. Be aware of the various rate changes depending on time of day, so you can potentially lower your bill by utilizing heavy load uses like washer dryers or dishwashers and ovens during the non-peak lower rate times. If you have any questions, EEA, that's Empire Electric Association, is happy to assist you with understanding your bill. And the Colorado Parks and Wildlife held their 2 days of meeting this past week and determined the wild bison and domesticated bison were to be treated differently moving forward with conservation and restoration projects. And in related CPW news, in Washington state, they voted not to provide further wolves to Colorado at this time during a November 15th meeting they held. The Colorado program may not be able to release any additional wolves this season if they can't coordinate a source, given the recent federal cease and desist letter addressing the controversy that the original management plan stated they could draw from certain American wolf locations, but instead this past year, Colorado imported wolves from Canada. The wolf saga continues, and each month on the Pinto Bean Facebook page, we share the latest map tracking data as soon as it becomes available. Over in Utah's DWR, they are reminding the public, quote, "Don't ditch a fish," after discovering fish illegally introduced into Lloyd's Lake. On the 10th of November, they released a press release saying that after discovering an illegal fish introduction this past year, the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources is again reminding Utahns that it's both harmful and illegal to move sport fish you've caught from one water body to another, to dump unwanted pet fish into local ponds, or to use live bait fish. Each spring and fall, DWR biologists survey various lakes and streams to assess the status of sport fish and native fish populations in Utah. During surveys this year, biologists discovered that smallmouth bass were illegally released into Lloyd's Lake in the Colorado River drainage. Both the transport of live fish away from where they were initially caught and the subsequent release of those fish into a new location are illegal. Well, we're towards the end of the fall hunt season in Colorado. The third season ended the 16th of November, and the fourth and final season will be from the 19th through the 23rd. In San Miguel County, deputies responded to a report of a fire in the area of the Klondike Mine in Big Gypsum Valley. That was on Tuesday the 11th. That's 20 miles southwest of Norwood. Upon arrival of a hunter's travel trailer being fully engulfed in flames, Norwood Fire contained the fire to the campsite. The camper was lost entirely. No other structures were damaged, and there were no injuries. BLM investigators were on their way to determine what the cause of the fire was. The campers were from the Dove Creek area, I have been told, and everyone was safe. And let's take a look at the articles this past week on water wars that continue. So Utah, along with Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, and Wyoming, failed to meet the most recent deadline this past Tuesday to create new guidelines for water allocation from the shared river sources. The group has set its sight on a February 2026 deadline, with hopes to avoid federal intervention, as they did establish some new proposals but had not come to full recommendation. Every state is in this for themselves. Take Utah. Over a quarter of its water supply comes from the Colorado River. That's pretty huge. Everything was fine when there was ample water to go around. With the recent drought years, now that supply source is dwindling and competition for its use is heating up. Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. Well, this past week, you'd have to lived literally under a rock to not have known about the colors in the sky being seen at these lower latitudes. Fantastic reds and greens, mostly all over everyone's Facebook feeds, were pretty cool. I wonder how many people actually know why the night sky lights up like that, and how many are paying attention to the activity of our sun. I posted a link to a YouTube channel called Suspicious Observers. Ben Davidson is also on X as Sun Weather News. He puts out a daily, early morning 3 to 5 minute update on the status of the sun, from solar winds to solar flares, what's coming when, and if it's headed at Earth. He's been prolific on sharing scientific research on all sorts of related topics, and has been following the magnetic pole shift with a keen eye. The catastrophe that will occur to Earth when the magnetic poles do shift will be a significant end to much of life on this planet, as it has done before. Get the latest updates by following Ben. He moved to the eastern slope in Colorado, west of Pueblo-ish, to establish the Observer Ranch for like-minded people, hosting events and workshops, as well as a potential place to live and learn. On November 15th, the Observer Ranch released a documentary to view for free, courtesy of a large sponsor, that is sure to be a great tool to learn about where we are in these cycles and how to be better prepared. You can find that on YouTube at Suspicious Observers channel. Back on the federal level of news, the USDA Farm Service Agency, the FSA, announced last week that the deadline for livestock producers to apply for assistance through the Emergency Livestock Relief Program for 2023 and 2024 Flood and Wildlife, ELRP, 2023 and 2024 FW, they're both being extended to November 21st, 2025. The program is expected to provide approximately $1 billion in recovery benefits to producers whose livelihoods were adversely impacted by disrupted feed availability and poor forage conditions following catastrophic floods and wildfires in both the years of 2023 and 2024. So go into the office if you're still wanting to apply for that right now. On the national news level this past week, the federal government came to some sort of an arrangement to stagger back into funding and operational conditions. Along with that, meant that the SNAP food stamp benefits program was being processed for loading funds back onto recipient cards as early as this past Thursday. The local area food banks have been able to pick up some of the food access gaps, and along with food drives, there has been ample support for those in need. And according to Telluride News, due to unseasonably warm and dry weather, Telluride Ski and Golf announced last week that their tentative opening for Thanksgiving Day has now been postponed to Saturday, December 6th. Telski has had conflicts with the town of Mountain Village about the proposed increase to the cost of water for snowmaking, and is currently in ongoing negotiations with the Ski Patrol's union. They are planning to go on strike, but neither of those factors have played a part in the delayed opening. The gondola will reopen on November 21st, but the Chondola, lift number 1, will remain closed to the public until the resort opens for skiing and riding. And if you look at the SnowTel reports from the start of this past week, There is a lot of red on the snow water equivalent averages on both much of Utah and Colorado. And if you take a look at the picture here, you can see where the San Miguel Basin, Dolores, Animas, San Juan basins have very little water right now. But we're hoping for the new weather system coming in this next upcoming week to provide a lot of needed moisture. And the Pinto Bean Facebook page just added the option of giving it stars this week, which helps to monetize the page, adding a penny a star towards the work we do to keep communities updated on what's going on in our area every day. It's hyper-local, as they say, and we enjoy sharing the fundraisers and emergency information to help inform our neighbors and friends across the board. We are operating as a free printed newspaper with a value-for-value structure for those who find value in what we produce, including this new weekly broadcast. We encourage you to donate the value it brings to you, whether it's a few dollars, helping to deliver papers, or contributing. As the printing costs and delivery costs go up, we appreciate the advertising sponsors for making it possible at all. Please support them as well and make sure you tell them you saw it on the bean. As always, thank you for your support. I'm Kendra Cook with the Pinto Bean News for you. Have a wonderful week ahead.